Ta-da! Yes, as you can see, we've put the body back on. So I had to have a load of scaffolding put up at the back of my house yesterday, so we had to roll the car outside. And whilst it was outside next to the shell, I thought, well, there's nothing really stopping us putting the shell back on again now. For the most part the chassis is done. Put the prop shaft back in, and we're good to go really. Obviously you've got full access to the engine bay without the bonnet, so obviously I still need to have a tweak with the engine, get it idling, running nicely, but I'm not going to do that until I get a new starter motor, or at least a second-hand starter motor, because my one isn't very good. So we're going to leave the engine alone until I find the new starter motor. So it sort of looks like we're back to square one again, doesn't it? We've done all that work, and now I'll put a shell on top, and all my hard work seems to have disappeared. And we're back to this filthy body again, but the body is in good nick. Two of us went around it yesterday, and there's only two things really that need addressing on the body before we start to go over it. So first of all, there's some crispiness in here, down here, and you can see where this has been welded, it hasn't been seamed across here, and just down in there it's a little bit crispy in there. So we're going to make up a plate to go in there to hold that on nicely. The rest of the body in there is absolutely fine. And then the biggest job is in the passenger side, where you can see I've started lifting this plate that the previous owner put in. So if I show you the welding of the previous owner, you'll know what I mean. Yeah. So what he's done is, rather than just cut, obviously there was rust in the old one, so rather than just cut the old one out and put a replacement one in, he sandwiched the old one between two good pieces of steel. So I can't show you because the car's up against the wall, but the metal that's on the underneath of the car is lovely. He's put a flat sheet, it's all been tacked in, zipped in properly. It looks really, really nice. Then you have the gash bit, which we can't see, which is what he's left in, and then he's put another piece in on top to dress it. So, you know, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the smartest way of doing it to me. I would have just cut the old one out, got a replacement panel, zipped the new one in, filled, sanded, painted, and had done with it, but, you know, clearly not. So that one, obviously the welds haven't taken very well, you know, it's pretty bad welding. I've just gone on with a screwdriver and it's just popped off, so not hot enough. Looks like the wire speed's too slow, and probably looks like he didn't have enough gas in it as well, coming from this expert welder. So what we'll do is we'll buzz that one out, take that out and have a look underneath it. But that is pretty much it in terms of welding, bodywork, etc. for this. Arches are all straight, they've all been done. Obviously the paint, this is the original paintwork. You can see this spider webbing in the original paintwork, so we're going to get the DA sander on that and we'll take that all back. Inside the boot, it's had a replacement strip put in here at some time, but that's a nice thick strip, nothing wrong with that. And like I say, for the most part it's just dirty rather than rusted out. So yeah. And the next thing again will be to pull the dash out. So we'll have all that out. You get this sort of nice fake wood thing on this here. So I'll polish this up, see how well it'll come. If not, I'll get a wood wrap, a vinyl wrap, and I'll wrap that dash. I'll take all the instruments out, give them a good clean, polish up the bezels, do all that kind of stuff. Up here, again, normally these crack and go to shit, but these ones are actually good. The heater vents in there need a repaint. You got your little ashtray in there as well, and obviously just needs a good clean up and going over. I'm guessing there was meant to be a glove box there at some point. Do they have a glove box? I have no idea. And what appears to be this little light, is this like a map reading light or something? I have no idea what that is, so we'll get to that in due course. Yeah, so it kind of feels like we're back to step one again, which is quite disconcerting. Kind of feels like all my work's been for nothing, but you know, it's under there, we know it's under there, it's good. For an hour's work with a wire brush, a paintbrush and a hoover, that's looking much better than it was. Most of the debris is gone. Obviously there's still surface dirt on the paintwork and surface rust. I'm not going to bother scrubbing that off because that will come off with the sanding. So I'm not going to duplicate my work. Again, you can see it's had a few repairs over the years. It's got the long patching down there. There's a couple of smaller patches, one there, one there, one there. So there's a few bits and bobs, bit of filler down there. But nothing that's going to alarm me. I'll show you the actual underside of the back. Don't know how well you can see that, but that's pretty straight. Obviously it's got the zinc oxide primer on it already, so it's had some work. Yeah, so bit of scrubbing, quick hoover. We're getting onto the right lines. It's starting to look better already, even if it is just all the crap out of it. So just for contrast, that's how the boot looks. That's how the rest of the car looks. In terms of the level of dirt that's in there, just that accumulated dirt. As I say, it was in a barn and there was a workshop there, so obviously it's had sawdust and straw and just accumulated filth over the years. Previous owner said it had been sat for a couple of years, in quotes, but I found a receipt for the stainless steel exhaust which shows it was purchased in 2010 and that was still brand new in the box. So why and it was about 300 quid. So why you'd spend 300 quid on a full stainless steel exhaust, the rest of it's obviously in the car, but why you'd spend 300 quid on a stainless steel exhaust, not put it in, doesn't make any sense to me. You put it in, right, if you spend that money. So I think it's been sat since that exhaust was purchased, if not before, and that was 10-12 years ago. So I think it's been sat a little bit longer than he said. But, you know, either way, whatever. Is what it is, as they say. So I'm going to carry on scrubbing, cleaning, going through here, getting as much of the bad dirt out as I can. And like I say, I'm not going to worry about the small stuff. I'm not going to go in there with a damp cloth and start to mop out all the dirt. There's no point. Because like I say, I'm going to go over the entire thing with the DA sander and take it back as much as I can with that. So it's going to get full of filth again anyway. So again, no point duplicating work. Right. Okay, and after a bit of fumbling, we found the correct radiator mount. I assumed it was part of the roof. It's not. So now we've got the radiator mounted in there properly, securely, and all freshly painted. So it looks nice and shiny. One more small job ticked off the list. And there we go, after a little bit of cleaning. That's the scuttle panel, or whatever you call it. Now all cleaned up, wire brushed down and hoovered out. And we're left with some very simple pieces. So we have the wiper motor, first of all, nice and simple. Okay, obviously drives the wiper blades. We have the wiper squirter, same thing, just a little pump with a hose on it. Connects to this hose, I'm guessing, which is the squirters. Your two cylinders sit here, so your brake master cylinder, your clutch master cylinder. I've oiled these ones up so they move quite nicely now. Then we have the two spouts for your heater matrix. Hot water goes in here, comes out there. And that, get it back up, is your pump. Sits on there like that, and that's simply a valve. As you can see, water goes in through the top, comes out through the back there, and it's basically got something akin to a choke cable which goes to the inside. So when you pull it, opens the valve, lets the hot water in. And then on the side, your coil will also sit here. It's your ignition coil for the moment. And then you have your ignition solenoid, and the battery sits in there. So you wire your solenoid up to your battery, to your coil, and then hopefully when you turn the key, it all starts. Okay,
after a couple hours lying upside down the footwells, we finally managed to get the dash out. You can see that I've taken the precaution of bundling all the wires together with a bit of tape and writing on them what they are. I've also taken photos with my phone just so I know how the wires go on the back of the instruments. I can't recommend doing that enough. I do lots of small scale projects, not just on cars, and always take photos as you go along before you take anything apart, because it will be an invaluable aid later on and might save you hours of going through Google looking at other things. So I've left what I think they call the slam panel in, this fabric piece on top. It's not actually in bad condition, there's no cracks or anything in it, it just needs a really good clean. So rather than go underneath and try and unbolt all that as well, I'll leave that be and I'll just give it a really nice clean up. Obviously managed to get the steering wheel off as well, just to save me whacking my head on it every single time I try and get in and out of that footwell. So here's the components taken out of the car. So we have the two halves of the steering wheel surround, which just have two Phillips bolts that go in the bottom, although mine's missing one. I've got one in there, the other one's gone walkabout. The steering wheel itself, obviously you've got the big nut that holds the main wheel on, and then there's also three, although I've only got two, of these small screws that hold this onto the main wheel as well. And when the dash comes out, it basically comes out in three pieces, as we can see here. So starting on the driver's side, we obviously have the wooden surround for it, speedo and RPM. Now, the thing with taking the dash out on this car, as I found out, is it's not a case of just undoing a few screws, taking the entire dash out and then removing the instruments. You have to remove the instruments to actually get the dash out. So you've got to get up in behind and take those small nuts off the back of these, because they are attached to these brackets. One had this bracket on it, can't remember which, and one had these two legs which screw onto those as well, and that was actually holding that part of the dash in. Okay, so if you try and take it out of yours, that's why. There are still a couple of screws. You can see there's one on the corner here, I think there's another one under the bottom corner, and the same on this side. So you've still got to take those bolts out, but if you've taken the bolts out and you're struggling to remove it and you want to know why, it's because the instruments need to come out. So the middle panel isn't too bad. So obviously on this one we have the hazard switch, which just unscrews. Okay, that actual body unscrews. There's two small screws in the back and that just pulls out with the loom attached to it. Nice and simple. As I say, two nuts on the back of each of these. Pull them forward and then you can pull the pins off the back, which allow you to take the instruments out, which will then let you take that dash panel out. The middle one's not too bad. You've got your rocker switch in the middle for the lights, fuel temperature, a fasten seatbelt sign, which is quite odd to find on a 1970s car. There were some pressure switches. I only found one in the passenger seat, not in the driver's seat. So whether someone's had it out before in the past, I don't know. Obviously I'm not going to bother putting them back in. I may just put a bit of black tape over that because I don't want a fasten seatbelt light in my car. I always wear my seatbelt anyway. And then your two heater slide switches, which are here. So I had a bit of fun trying to get these ones out until I realised they've got a very small 1.5mm grub screw holding them onto the stalks. So if you're trying to get yours off, that's what you'll need. 1.5mm Allen key. They pull off because the sliders, if I can get you in there, are actually, there's one on the left and one on the right. They are actually attached obviously to the heater mechanism which stays in the car. So that's the middle panel, and then obviously you've got four screws on that one in each corner. So that one's reasonably simple to get out. Then the left hand side is the one I had fun with. You've got the cigarette lighter, which was pretty straightforward. That just pulled off the back. It had the little light attached to the side of it as well, which just unclips. And then I got this monstrosity, which sticks inside the passenger footwell. I don't think there's meant to be a glove box on these cars. I think they're meant to just have a parcel shelf or something. Mine is missing it, but it did have this, which looks to be a map reading light. It's hinged in the middle and it rotates as well, and there's a wire going into it. I have to unscrew that, and there is a bulb in there, so I can only assume it's some kind of map reading light for the passenger, no doubt when you're on your Paris-Dakar rally. And that has a bolt which actually holds this on. It's on the other panel, but yes, anyway, you have to undo this. Getting to that nut was damn near impossible. I found that it was best just to snip the wire off and unscrew the actual body of this itself to get it out. Once that comes off, then you can get this panel out. So that is your 3 panels that make up the dash. And then up on the slam panel, whatever you want to call it, the crash panel at the top, you have the 2 heater vents, which as you can see are all rusted. They have a bolt on the underside. Okay, so you do need to get up there with your extension bar and your ratchet. I think they're 11 mils. Whatever that is in Imperial, I don't know. I'm still using my metric sockets. A couple of bolts at each of those, and they pull off. And then obviously you've got your ashtray. Compliments, everyone smoked in the 70s, didn't they? And your little ashtray in the middle. So I'm going to strip those back, repaint those. They can go back into the top slam panel. These ones, the plan is to take all the instruments out, give them a refurb, so clean them out from behind, maybe a fresh lick of white paint on the needles, polish up the glass, clean the bezels, that kind of thing. Just give those a really nice refurb before they go back in. The dash itself is a plywood by the look of it, like 7 ply or something like that. Obviously there's some cracks in it where it's laminated on the front. This is probably just a veneer that's put on the front. So I think what I'll probably do, now obviously I could actually get some nice ply and remake that. I'm not going to bother, I don't think there's any point. What I'm going to do with that is rub it all back and then probably get a wrap, a vinyl wrap, same as you get for cars. I vinyl wrapped my entire Volkswagen van, so I'm a dab hand at wrapping now. So I'll probably get like a walnut or something like that, like a nice dark wood, and then just vinyl wrap that. The good thing with vinyl wrap, of course, is that if you decide further down the line you don't like it, you can just peel it off again and do something else. So, you know, that's a nice choice. There's a chip missing off the corner of that as well. In fact, that whole piece you can see there is starting to come away, so that'll probably just get peeled off. Yeah, bit of walnut wrap on there, make them look nice and groovy, and then that dash can go back together again.